So round two then, tales from the factory floor. And I'll tell you a little bit of what I can remember. Now, the narrow strip consisted of two working rolling mills, in between the rolling mills was a pinch pass and a rewinder line. On the other side, opposite, was two 4-eye mills, which had been mothballed, and they'd been mothballed before my time, but they were still there. So behind these two 4-eye mills, we had a line of lockers, and we used to get changed there, and between the gearboxes on both machines, they'd made some benches. So these benches were probably 10 foot long, so you could sit there, you could get changed for work, get changed to go home, etc. But they also made good beds. Now, one chap in particular, he was an old guy. I don't even know what job he did. He used to walk about, and he just used to pull a barrow, and he used to deliver things to you on this barrow, whether it be rags, rolls, or stuff that you needed from somewhere else. While he was doing this job, it must have been really tiring, because he used to come mid shift. He used to lay down on these benches and go to sleep. Well, this chap, his name was Ronnie Lamb, and he had a glass eye. So when he used to lay down to go to sleep, he'd take his eye out, and he'd put it on top, probably on these gearboxes. So when he got up, he just could reach up for it and put it in, and then he'd just carry on doing his day-to-day whatever he used to do. So one day he goes down for his daily nap, and as he's got up, he started fumbling for his eye, and he's knocked it off, and it's rolled between these some steel coils. So he's got one of the lads to help him. I've lost my glass eye, and it's gone down there. Can you find it for me? So he's had people on their hands and knees crawling between these steel coils to find his eye for him. So it's about 1978, and of course me and Pete were only about 18 years old. Now, you remember from the first video I mentioned this chap called Crazy. For the sake of this story, we'll call him Billy. So he worked on the rewinder line. Now, on this rewinder line, it was a two-man job. For whatever reason, it was a two-man job. Anyway, the chap he was working with was his dad. Now Billy being Billy, he'd started arguing with his dad during whatever caused it. We obviously have no idea, but he started arguing with his dad, and he started picking everything available to him up and throwing them at his dad. So if there were an hammer there, he'd throw an hammer at his dad. If there were any shears there, he should throw them. Pieces of wood, he'd throw. Anyway, it really shit me and Pete up. I mean, we were only 18 and we'd never seen nothing like that before, and obviously there's shouting involved and screaming, and so I goes behind one of these 4-eyes that I've just mentioned in that other story. I go behind it. I thought, I'm not having none of this. I'm walking away. So I goes behind this 4-eye, and I sits down on one of these benches. Anyway, after 10 minutes or so, Billy comes, sits down, not outside of me, but on these benches a little bit further along. Anyway, at that time we had a shift manager, who was a nice bloke he were, but he were big, he were a huge bloke, and his name was Terry Cooper. Now he was one of them, well, you won't mess about with, put it that way. So he comes down and he's shout, you know, where's this Billy? So he's found his way to come to us right back of these 4 mills, and he says to Billy, have you been, oh, I'm sure there were some expletives involved, have you been throwing stuff, hammers and shears and whatever else, at your father? So I don't know what words we exchanged, but I just remember Terry picking Billy up. Now Billy's only about 5'2", and he's picked him up by the scruff of the neck, and he's lifted him up, and his feet are off at the floor, and he's shaking him and he's shouting at him, and he just threw him back down. And I don't know what was said, but that never happened again. So the Narrow Strip Mill shut down in 1993. Now, as you worked out from the first video, I'd started there in 1996. Nope, did a bugger hell, 1976. So I started there in 1976. So I'd had around about 17 years down there. And in my 17 years working in Narrow Strip, I had 3 accidents. But I'm not going to tell you all about them in one video. I'll probably do another video and I'll fetch one up. But my first accident was, we used to get a list of jobs, what needed doing for production through the shift. By means of lifting these coils around, we didn't use a crane. We had it was a forklift with a long pole. And this pole was about probably 5 foot long, something like that. And it just used to go through the aperture of the coil, lift it up. You'll see from the pictures, lift it up and then transfer it to wherever you needed it to go. So we got a new starter. Now it'd been there, probably been there about a month or so. It was about the same age as my dad were at that time. And his name, a chap called Norton Reynolds. So anyway, I gave him this list and I'd marked them all up for him. I said, this one, 1, 2, 3, we need these. And he says, can't you roll them out for me? So they'd have been about probably 8 to 9 inch wide, probably 800 kilos, which meant they were about chest height. Me stood up, they were about chest height. So he asked me to roll them out. Instead of moving probably 3 or 4 coils what were in their path, what it needed to move, so he could get these 3 behind. So I'm trying to shove out, you know, I mean, I'm only like 19. He jumped down off truck, and as I'm stood behind one of these trying to shove them, he shoved it from side. Well, because they're so narrow and that got, you know, they're not stable up floor, he's knocked it sideways, and as my hands round edge of coils, it's toppled onto other one with my fingers between it, and and the momentum, like a domino effect, is it the other one, it smashed my fingers open. So these 3 fingers, so these 3 fingers have been smashed open. One of the blokes has seen this happen, and he's come and running over to me, phone ambulance to tell them that we're on the fetching somebody over, not ambulance, the ambulance room to say that they're going to walk somebody over because he's had an accident. So Upsy, you know, he puts his head under my shoulder and he starts carrying me over, and as we're walking over to ambulance room, which is about 300 yards away, security have come out and they've seen him. So one of the security guards has come out and he's gone under my other shoulder, so I'm between them, you know, you've seen them do that. And when it gets about 40, probably about 40 foot away from the ambulance room, and this chap on my left, who one of my work colleagues, what I've been sick all down back of his head and all down his back. So, and his name was Robert Powell. So we'll mention Robert a little bit later on and all. Well, I'm not going to be sick on security guard, am I? I'm going to get into trouble for that. So I was sick on Robert instead. Anyway, they sent me off to, at that time, I think I don't know if it was Royal Infirmary. I know it's not there anymore, but they filmed, do you know that film, The Full Monty? They were the part in that Full Monty where this hospital that I'd been to used to be there, and it's just not there no more. So I don't know when that got pulled down. Anyway, that was my first accident. So I'm going to wrap it up there now. I just told a couple of stories because I didn't want it to go on and on and on, because people are just going to get bored and they're just going to switch me off. So I'll see you on the next then. Ta-da!